The Phantom Menace is not a good movie. Even among people who like the prequels, this is a hard movie to defend. But what does everyone agree is the best part? I could watch this scene all day. It's amazing the difference in quality. Why is this scene so much better than the rest of the movie? It's because they don't talk. George Lucas wrote and directed all 3 prequels, and he's famously bad at writing dialogue. There's so much good in the prequels, but it's all buried underneath stupid, clunky lines. Especially in The Phantom Menace, all the characters feel flat and lifeless because the lines they're given are so bad. But here, we see what happens when the characters are free from all that. Here, the actors and the stunt team were able to go nuts and give Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul some actual depth through their physical actions. It's remarkable, and it deserves our attention. So, I want to go through this entire scene, moment by moment, even frame by frame, to find all the little details that characterize these 3 as they battle, to see how it all adds up to a really awesome fight scene. The scene opens with all the heroes running up to this door, which opens to reveal Maul on the other side. Everything about Maul's introduction here is set up to make him look as intimidating as possible. The door opens on him standing, ready, with his hood up. Remember, at this point in the movie, we haven't seen that much of him. We've only seen him with his hood on, and his first fight with Qui-Gon was really short. And it was specifically edited really chaotically, with sand flying everywhere, so you can't see what his fighting looks like. We haven't even seen him use both ends of his lightsaber. In this scene, we get everything shown to us one by one. We see him far away, and then close up so you can see his yellow eyes. Qui-Gon tells the others to run as he drops the hood to reveal horns. They all drop their robes, and with an effortless flourish that indicates his expertise with the blade, he ignites one half of his lightsaber, and then the other. Out of universe, this was done to make him look awesome to the audience. This shot was all over the trailers. Whoa, a double lightsaber, right? In universe though, you can also read this as Maul intentionally trying to seem intimidating. No living Jedi has ever seen a Sith, so it's to his advantage to hype himself up. Plus, I like to think he just has a flair for the dramatic. Something else that's striking about this moment is how Maul's face is totally neutral the whole time. He is capable of expressing emotions, which we see in other shots, but he doesn't here. He, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan are all perfectly stoic as they drop their robes and get ready for the duel. I don't know, but what else are you gonna call it? A truel? Wait, that's a real word? Huh. Anyway, as they get ready for their truel, all 3 of them are professional about it. Maul didn't try to ambush anybody, he stood behind a door and waited for them to come find him. And he lets everybody else run away. I interpret this as him wanting a real fair fight. He's probably been itching to fight a real Jedi his entire Sith career, and he wants to test his skills. And the Jedi, of course, are going to engage with honor. Then we cut to Anakin for a while.
We gotta do something, R2!
If I have one complaint about this sequence, it's that it's intercut with other stuff that I care way less about.
This is Nazi.
This is such a tiny thing, but notice that Obi-Wan ignites his lightsaber first, a split second before Qui-Gon. This is the beginning of a pattern that will continue throughout the fight. They engage, and Obi-Wan immediately does a flip over Maul to land behind him. Was this necessary? Was this strategically advantageous? I doubt it. But I point all this out because in this fight, Obi-Wan's actions are noticeably aggressive, overeager, while Qui-Gon is more controlled and withdrawn. Obi-Wan as a character gets so screwed over in this movie. I'm not the first person to point this out, but it makes no sense that most of the story focuses on Qui-Gon, the mentor character who doesn't have any character development to do, instead of the apprentice. Like, they leave Obi-Wan on the ship for the whole Tatooine section. He barely gets to say or do anything in this movie. But what we do get shows him as an overconfident, smarmy brat.
You were right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short. If they find us, they will crush us, grind us into tiny pieces, and blast us into oblivion.
Why do I sense we've picked up another pathetic life form?
That's who Obi-Wan is in this movie, and we should have gotten a lot more of it. I bet a lot of people never noticed this about his character because it's so buried under minimal screen time and Ewan McGregor's flat dialogue delivery. Quick tangent to this tangent, but have you ever seen the LEGO Star Wars Holiday Special? It's a LEGO movie that came out on Disney Plus a few years ago, and it has Rey time traveling to visit lots of key moments across all 9 movies. When she goes to the Phantom Menace, there's this 10-second scene between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, where Obi-Wan has more personality than in the entire Phantom Menace movie.
Who cares about a trade dispute?
Jedi do not seek adventure.
I understand, it's just that it's not very...
Yes!
Now this is more like it!
Focus, Obi-Wan.
My point being, this fight scene is where we finally get to see Obi-Wan's character shine through. He's a skilled young Jedi who thinks war and fighting are exciting and cool. Like Maul, he's been waiting for a chance to prove himself, so he launches into battle and is consistently the most aggressive combatant. But look at this. In the opening volley of attacks, Maul fends off both attackers, but who does he keep his eye on? Qui-Gon. He barely glances at Obi-Wan in these first few seconds. He deflects all of Obi-Wan's attacks without having to look. He doesn't even look up or turn around when Obi-Wan jumps over his head. Clearly, he views Qui-Gon as the real challenge, and Obi-Wan as the apprentice who doesn't know what he's doing. Maul backs up and uses a force pull to open the doors behind him. Again, Obi-Wan rushes him, but then Maul kicks him and sends him flying. He kicks him during a lightsaber duel. Obi-Wan is so aggro that he can't even focus enough to block a foot. It's humiliating, and it shows how he lacks discipline. Obi-Wan gets up to rejoin as Maul leads Qui-Gon into the next room. The whole fight, Maul keeps backing up, retreating, which gives the illusion of him losing ground. But we know that Maul knows this area. He picked this spot for the fight. There's no way he didn't scope it out ahead of time. So he has to be doing this on purpose, leading them somewhere. They back Maul up to a ledge. Maul teeters and loses his balance. There's a lull in the fight, as the camera zooms in on each of their faces. Maul bares his black teeth like a cornered animal. Qui-Gon is neutral, impassive. And Obi-Wan narrows his eyes and curls his lip as he spots an opportunity. It's Obi-Wan's inexperience showing again, rushing in too early and giving away his next move because it's written all over his face. But then Obi-Wan doesn't attack. He feints, and then Qui-Gon makes a swing. They use both Maul's and our expectations against us, and they pull this off without a word between them. It goes to show how well they know each other, and how good they are at working as a team. Which is why if Maul wants to win, he'll have to separate them. Cut to Jar Jar for a little while. Then cut to Anakin.
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
Maul flips off the ledge, and they follow. They fight against the backdrop of these pink reactor things, and it looks so awesome. Then Maul kicks Obi-Wan again and knocks him off the ledge. Twice! He kicked him twice!
Fool me once. Shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Obi-Wan falls all the way down onto the next ledge and ends up hanging for his life. Meanwhile, Qui-Gon fights Maul alone. The two of them seem pretty evenly matched here. Qui-Gon rams Maul off the ledge and then calmly jumps down to attack him on the ground. But Maul blocks and somehow manages to kick Qui-Gon in the face. Man, he's got some flexible legs. Be a shame if something happened to them. Obi-Wan climbs back up, and as he goes to rejoin the fight, he doesn't seem that concerned. Look at him lightly jogging as he watches them. He figures his master can handle it for a minute. These few moments are entirely from his perspective, as we see Maul and Qui-Gon fight from a distance. They back up into that room with all the laser shield door things. What are these things for in-universe? I don't know. But they make for an awesome fight scene. And for Maul, a trap. Maul keeps on leading Qui-Gon into these things as Obi-Wan sprints to catch up to them. Then all these doors close. Maul stops and watches the doors close. The way he looks them up and down, he seems confused. But if so, he's pretending to be confused. Because again, he planned all this out. Obi-Wan has to skid to a stop like a cartoon character, because as we keep seeing, he's too hot-headed and not as aware of his surroundings. This is a great little moment as all three of them wait for the doors to deactivate. Maul hits the door with his lightsaber to test it, and to show the audience that nothing can pass through it. He paces back and forth, stalking his prey. Qui-Gon sits down to meditate. Obi-Wan just stands there, impatiently waiting. This moment is the perfect encapsulation of these three characters. Cut to Jar Jar. Cut to Anakin.
I'm trying to stop!
Obi-Wan is, again, the first to reactivate his lightsaber as he gets ready for the doors to go down again. The moment the doors are down, Qui-Gon's eyes shoot open and he launches into an attack from a sitting position. The way it's shot, you don't actually see Qui-Gon or Maul reactivate their lightsabers because they both jump back into it so fast. They back up even further as Obi-Wan sprints as hard as he can to get to them. But the doors close again, right as Obi-Wan gets to the last one. Now, Maul has them right where he wants them. They're separated, they're in the room where he's been leading them all this time, and he can focus all his energy on Qui-Gon. You can see Qui-Gon getting tired. His swings are less powerful, and he takes more pauses in between attacks. Obi-Wan sees it too. Before he was casual about watching them, but now he's tensed up, stressing about whether Qui-Gon can hold out for just another minute. Then, Maul pulls out the one move that's consistently worked for him this entire fight. He blocks a swing from Qui-Gon, and then he conks Qui-Gon in the head with his lightsaber hilt. With Qui-Gon stunned, Maul spins around and impales him through the stomach. As he drops, Qui-Gon's face has got this faraway look that's the complete opposite of how focused he's been the whole fight. Before he's even on the ground, Maul pivots to face Obi-Wan and gets ready to finish the fight. The rage on Obi-Wan's face is palpable. He looks over at Qui-Gon's body, who still moves around a bit to show us that he's not all the way dead yet. Maul paces in front of the door in the exact same way he did with Qui-Gon, indicating that he's targeting his next victim. Hey, you know what I really want to know right now? What Jar Jar is doing.
Might give up. Might give up.
The doors come down, and Obi-Wan charges at Maul with a flying leap. He's more aggressive than ever. You can draw a lot of parallels between Obi-Wan here and Anakin in the next two movies. Jedi are trained to let go of their anger and attachment, and embrace inner peace. But Obi-Wan and Anakin both have a hard time doing that. They don't fight like monks, they fight like hot-headed warriors. And besides getting them into trouble, that's how a Sith fights.
Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the heat flow through you.
That's definitely a motif in Star Wars, that the bad guys use anger to fuel them, and they are, on the surface, better fighters, but anger only gets you so far. Obi-Wan does manage to get a few good hits on Maul while he's raging. He cuts Maul's lightsaber in half and kicks him over, using Maul's own signature move against him. Maul gets in, oh look, another kick, and he's flipping and dodging all of Obi-Wan's attacks. He force pushes Obi-Wan away, into the pit. Cut to Anakin.
Now this is pod racing.
Now here comes the part that everybody knows. Maul could have finished off Obi-Wan right away, but instead, he takes his time to gloat and savor his victory. He kicks Obi-Wan's lightsaber into the pit, and he slashes at the floor to make cool sparks. But Obi-Wan concentrates, and jumps up while force pulling Qui-Gon's lightsaber. Because Maul isn't paying attention, the same way he's been ignoring Obi-Wan the whole fight, Obi-Wan cuts Maul in half, and both halves of his body drop into the pit. And that's the scene. As you can see, every tiny movement, every expression served a purpose, to communicate something about these characters. Maybe you're confused about why any of this matters. You never noticed these little details before, and you still thought the fight was cool. Why bother including them if most people will never notice? But they do matter. Even if you don't notice, you pick up on this stuff subconsciously. It's why you're invested in the fight, and why it doesn't devolve into pure spectacle. Without explaining anything to you, this fight gets so much across about these characters, and it presents them all as foils to one another. Qui-Gon, the stoic, calm old master. Maul, the calculating hunter. And Obi-Wan, the kid who might have more in common with his opponent than he'd like to admit. He makes constant mistakes and lets Maul run circles around him for the whole fight, leaving Qui-Gon to face his opponent alone. Just think, if Obi-Wan hadn't let himself get knocked off this ledge, he'd have been there with Qui-Gon and could have saved his life. Instead, Qui-Gon died because his apprentice failed to take the fight seriously and listen to his master's teachings. It was a weakness that Maul saw and actively exploited. It's only after Obi-Wan sees his master die and lets go of his rage that he's able to turn the tide, taking Maul down because Maul had underestimated him. It's so good. A real filmmaking achievement from everyone involved. That's something I tend to overlook more than I should, because I don't have a filmmaking background. But storytelling in movies comes from more than just the writer. So I want to end this video by giving credit to all the different people who made this scene happen. We have to start with stunt coordinator Nick Gillard. He did most of the heavy lifting here. Apparently, George Lucas gave him a lot of free rein to do whatever he thought was best. The original trilogy didn't have any lightsaber fights anywhere close to as involved as this. Before this movie came out, we'd only seen fights between old men and kids. Nick Gillard really elevated the standard for lightsaber combat for the entire franchise. It was his job to show the Jedi at the top of their game against a deadly opponent they had never seen before. He choreographed the moves to show their skills and their personalities. Then of course there's the actors. Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor communicate the differences between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in 100 subtle ways that you don't always think about when watching. It's the little expressions on their faces, the way they carry themselves. It all adds up. Alongside them are the stunt doubles, Rob Inch for Qui-Gon and Andreas Petrates as Obi-Wan. Most of the scene has the actors themselves really fighting, but these guys are responsible for the biggest and most complicated moments. The guy who played Darth Maul is Ray Park. He did all his own stunts, because he's a world-class swordsman and martial artist. But his non-verbal acting is also worth mentioning. He's able to communicate Maul's calculating, predatory nature. It's not just the makeup that makes him scary. Oh, speaking of, the makeup on Darth Maul is awesome. There's not a specific person I can credit here, because as you can imagine, this movie had a huge makeup team. But here's the full list of everyone involved. I'll also mention the set designers and the VFX team. The fight was filmed mostly on blue screens, so it was really up to them to make it all look cool after the fact. Of course, I can't forget about the soundtrack. I think we can all agree that Duel of the Fates is John Williams' best work for this entire franchise. It's appropriately epic lightsaber duel music, and this scene wouldn't feel nearly as cool without it. I opened this video by ragging on George Lucas a little. He's an easy scapegoat for everything bad about the prequels because he was the guy in charge. But it's not fair to deny him credit for all the good things too. He was the writer and director. Even if he didn't plan out the fight itself, he still designed a lot of it conceptually. He created all three of these characters. It was his idea for Qui-Gon to die and for Obi-Wan to dig deep and win. As much as people complain about him, it's because of him that this scene exists at all.
I was looking for a kind of sword fighting that was reminiscent of what was in the movies that we'd already done, but a more energized version of it. So to see a Jedi fighting in the prime of the Jedi, I wanted it to be a much more energetic and faster version of what we've been doing.
On the internet, it's so easy to just say movie good or movie bad, and only talk about either the positives or the negatives. I hope this analysis reminds people that even in bad movies, even in really bad movies, there's good stuff to find. There's passion and craft from people working their hardest to make it good. And that's worth celebrating.
And I think just through my wushu background and gymnastics and being a big kid, because I wanted to be a Jedi, it was just a dream come true for me.
Yeah,
and working with Nick as well, and Andreas and all the other guys, it really helped bring everything together.